color. Their stylists Michelle, Tori, Tracy, Brandy, Sarah, and Gail offer the best creative cuts and color for all ages, for men and women. The Vanity Zone is located at 732 Nissan Drive in Smyrna, to the right of the Crystals Restaurant. To look and feel your best, visit the Vanity Zone Salon today. Call 615-355-1721 to book your next appointment.
Is your car running like a dream, or does it need a little TLC? At Dr. Automotive in Smyrna, we treat your vehicle like it's one of our own. Let's hear what some customers have to say about Dr. Automotive.
Been coming to them ever since he opened up. Good family. I recommend to other people to get them repaired here because I knew they would do it and do it right. Been happy to send people to him because I trust what he does so much.
We're crazy about him. It's all about the doctor.
For quality care you can trust, visit Dr. Automotive in Smyrna. We've got the cure for your car.
Hi there, my name is Rusty Russ. I, along with my sons, Luke and Reed Russ, sell real estate for Stevens Group in the Middle Tennessee area. We are a team of professionals who have the knowledge of local and regional market, which allows us to offer you a full range of commercial, industrial, residential, and investment real estate services, matching our resources with your needs. You can call us at 615-366-8900 or at my cell 615-406-5553 or email jrustyrust@comcast.net.
AFFI is Middle Tennessee's premier choice for pest, wildlife, and moisture control. They specialize in those difficult and unique cases. You can reach them by phone at 615-300-2395. That's 615-300-2395. Or stop in at 200 Glenrose Lane in Smyrna.
All right, you're listening to Conversation Mike Sparks. I'm your host, Mike Sparks. Roger, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Connor, you doing okay?
Yeah, doing great.
Are you staying out of trouble?
No.
Oh, yeah. I just left a funeral from a friend of mine, Douglas Atkins. I had a couple of folks going to call in, but sadly they're in the middle of service. My friend Mark Carpenter. Mark, I don't want to say he was homeless, but I guess you almost say he's kind of homeless. Doug took him in. He kind of was, really. And Sally Walls took him in back in the day. And but shout out to Linda Atkins and Ken and Lucas and the family loss of Doug Atkins. He's my neighbor right there on in Smyrna off of Woodland. Doug was 86 years old, and the funeral right now is at St. Patrick's Church over there on Baker Road, St. Patrick's Anglican Church. Beautiful church over there, right off near the corner of 1 Mile Lane and Baker Road. But they had lost their dog the other day, and I seen Linda. She's already broken heart about her husband, and they found the dog this morning. I think they found the dog in Murfreesboro of all places. So thank God for that. But Doug passed away Saturday, March 8th, with his family at his bedside. He graduated in 1956 from Willoughby Union High School in Willoughby, Ohio, where he played drums in the Rangers band. While he was in high school, Doug played the drums in the first rock and roll band in the area, the Four Plaids. He continued to play music in his adulthood, the Lamplighters, and as a native of Ohio, Doug was an avid fan of the Cleveland Browns, as well as both the Ohio State football team and marching band. He married his love of his life, Linda Atkins, on November 8th, 1958. They had 3 children, Larry, Ken, and Melissa. Sadly, their daughter had passed years ago, and I know that was an issue they probably just never ever got over, but thankfully he's reunited with his daughter, Melissa. But among Doug's many interests were coaching his son's baseball teams, playing drums, guitar, writing, and performing music, and enjoying his beagle dogs. Also was a wonderful cook, often creating recipes of his own, and the thought of authoring a cookbook. No one ever turned down an invitation to come over at Doug's for a meal. Doug was also a founding member of All Saints Episcopal Church in Smyrna, and then St. Patrick's Anglican Church in Murfreesboro. And anyways, he'll be greatly missed. His grandkids, let's see, his brother Denny, and grandchildren Ashley, Bond, Dustin and Morgan, Atkin, and Ashley and Adam Bond, Christopher and Julie, Courtney and Eric Bennett, Robert, Candace, and great-grandchildren Addison, Olivia, Annalyn, Amelia, Lennox, Cade, Cameron, Nathan, and Frankie, as well as many long-time friends who loved him dearly. And Doug was just a great guy. He used to write for the Murfreesboro, the Rutherford Reader, and he was extremely politically incorrect. I think that's why we got along so good. And on his answering machine, I always remember his answering machine, and he's like, press 1 for English, 2 for English, 3 for, it was something like that. You know, he had no Spanish button on his answering machine. But anyway, just a great guy, and it's just part of life. We're all going to be moving out of this world one day, and we're all going to have to give an account. And I think Doug Atkin passed the test, and I think the good Lord told him, well done, my good and faithful servant. And anyways, I don't know if Christian Dalgo said he might try to call in, or Kerry Farr, and my friend Mark Carpenter, but they're literally in the middle of service. But Roger, you helped me set these two fine gentlemen, this guest up. We've been talking about this for what, about a month?
Oh, yeah. Once I heard about the book, but I'm going to give you a couple of announcements here, and then this is going to lead right into these guys right here. But let me get this out of the way right quick, Mike.
Yeah.
It's the Mid-10 Hot Rodders is actually having their rain out car show at the, let's see, it's April the 19th. It's from the 15th March. It was going to have it. It's called the Second Annual Spring Thaw-Out Car Show. It's registrations at 9 till 12. The awards at 2 o'clock. It's going to be at the Smyrna Shake and Bake at 951 Sergeant Ansbury Home Drive in Smyrna.
Isn't it Steak and Shake?
Yeah, just a shake and steak.
No, Steak and Shake.
No, shake and steak.
Oh, is that what y'all call it?
No.
Okay. I thought something wasn't right there.
Well, I'm never right, man. Hey, I miss everybody's names all the time. But this right here is actually another event going on. You know, we had the guys into Vietnam veterans the other day. I believe they're called Rolling Thunder. Well, they got an event at the TriStar Veterans Resource Center, the 3rd annual Welcome Home celebration for Vietnam veterans. And it's March the 29th from 11 to 2 at the Fountains of Gateway at 1500 Medical Center Parkway in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And the Rolling Thunder, we've actually, I hooked them up with the Mid-10 Hot Rodders. They're actually going to do a cruise in over at the VFW here. We'll get to it later on, sometime in May, but they have got that going, and we'll talk about that later.
All right.
But the one we're going to talk about right now is actually these guys right here. And let's see what we got here. This is actually Mr. Gary LeFew and Paul Lamb, but Gary has written a book about the Freemasons that built the town of Smyrna, Tennessee. And Gary actually is one of our speakers at the Chili Cook-Off here a couple years ago, and he was talking about this. And they also put a little, like a little setup. It's almost like a little bitty small museum display at the lodge over at Smyrna. It's really, really cool. And that's how I got knowing knowing him. I known Paul quite a while. He he's a bluegrass guy, kazoo, different instruments like that. Oh, wait a minute, a mandolin. That's right. I confused somebody else, Paul. I've got kazoo's not a bluegrass instrument, is it?
No, sir.
Okay. you made sure of that. I saw that. Never mind. But anyway, on the let me get this right here. When I try to do it on the phone, I'm not worth a crap on it. I need to write it down like the old school. But they're having a book signing at the Sam Davis Masonic Lodge at 101 Mary Law Drive in Smyrna, Saturday, March the 29th. This coming Saturday, from 7 to 10. Event will be held in the conjunction with a pancake fundraiser breakfast for a stroke victim, and all you can eat pancakes breakfast for $10. please come out and support this worthy cause and meet the local author, which is Gary LeFew. And Gary, you're up next, so we want to get you to talk about your book a little bit.
Okay, well, I appreciate the invitation to come down to talk to you guys a little bit. This actually started more than a couple of years ago with just bits and pieces of putting together that I would call it the historical alcove there in the lodge. Then I uncovered the old records from the original Smyrna Lodge, which had been stashed away up in an area I call our attic. And these records go back to 1852. The financial ledger from 1852 to 1886, and meeting minutes from 1867 to 1886. The original meeting minutes were destroyed during the Civil War. You can go back through these records and you can see the most prominent people in Smyrna were members of that original Smyrna Lodge. The Beatties, the Davises, the Tucker, who was the
Gooch's. Was Gooch's one of them?
Gooch. The Gooch clan was big in the lodge. Not only the original Smyrna Lodge that shut down in 1886, but John Saunders Gooch, who was the owner of the Goochland Plantation, after the Civil War, he was the one that created the current Sam Davis Lodge. Okay. And Sam Davis was his neighbor, and they were the same age. They were both in the Western Military Institute at Nashville together before the war. But it kind of became a labor of love. Starting to put the story together. Originally, it was just going to be for the guys there in the lodge. They wanted to know what happened to the original lodge, and I knew as we were getting into it, I already had enough of the history to know that they had a big part in the founding of the original town of Smyrna from 1869. So I was able to merge the stories together. The stories of the original Masons were also the architects of the town of Smyrna.
Yeah, man, like I said, I noticed a lot of names. I saw a lot of names in there that I recognized. It's like I told Paul, I think my family was the poor Masons, the ones that probably got kicked out for not making payment back in those days. You know? So,
do y'all do that? What happened to somebody's low behind on their dues?
There are dues that have to be paid, and even back in the day, the guys back in the 1800s struggled to pay the dues.
I bet they did.
Well, I saw where the balance one time was like $4.
At one time, they audited the books and they had 19 cents. Okay. But dues were $2 a year, and they struggled to pay those dues.
Yeah. Well, times were hard back then, you know, and like I said, it's kind of amazing too. I saw what I saw was we was actually out there, Mike, about a month ago at the Beatty Farm, John Beatty Farm. You know, rededication of the rededication of that plaque.
That's right. Yeah.
But
the monument, they moved it off of Highway 96.
Yeah, and it's right there in the graveyard now. Yeah, but that wasn't original. They hadn't got the original thing built, but they was talking about that. But I saw that, and you know they farm the land over at Sam Davis' home. They're the ones that do that. Right. Beatty's Farms.
That's right.
So I got talking to him, and but like I said, now when I read your book, I said, "Oh, it's the same people. It's the same bunch right here." That's kind of putting, you know.
Well, John Beatty was a descendant of Thomas Jefferson Beatty. I think great grandson, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was so cool, and it just all kind of things. It just kind of lit up the Neely later on, you know, that one. It just things that lit. But the Hunters and like I said, I think they were McKinnons, people like that were the ones I was actually kin to that I noticed in the book.
We had some Beatties at the farm back there off of Woodland. That was we called it the Beatty Farm. I mean, growing up, you know, I don't know if he was one of the lodge members. That's on Ross Drive. That's the house that Charles Davis copied to build Sam Davis' home.
Yeah, right off of Ross Drive, right there. That back there.
Benjamin Beatty, if you go back to the early to mid 1800s, the owner of the large farm in that area, it was called Mechanicsville at that time.
Right.
And he was a founding member of the lodge. He was the senior warden that helped bring Freemasonry to Smyrna. His son, Thomas Jefferson Beatty, became a member of the lodge before the Civil War. After the Civil War, his younger brother, Ben Jr., also became a member of the lodge.
Okay. Now, Charles Davis was a member, which was Sam Davis's dad.
He was. He went through his first 2 degrees at at the Mount Moriah Lodge in Murfreesboro before there was a Smyrna Lodge.
And that's where my son is a member there. He belongs
Mount
to that
Moriah.
one.
Mm-hmm. Well, Charles Lewis Davis became a member of Smyrna Lodge not long after the lodge opened in early 1852. And another one of his sons, I mentioned that in the book as well. I think it was Alfred.
Yeah.
Sam's half brother also became a member of the lodge.
Okay. Yeah, one of them, actually had a grist mill down there on in Old Jefferson, Mike. I don't know if you remember when Toby was pointing that out, at the corner of the little, he said that's where the mill used to be. I remember seeing a small dam when there's a river before they put the lake in, little dam down there, and I think he said one of the David, I think that was the one that owned it. That was the one that probably had the money besides the dad. But, and I think later on they moved it to Smyrna, and it ended up being, instead of water, I think it was steam powered, what I was told.
They did use that, yep.
Yeah. But anyway, man, it's just such an interesting story. I got in that book, and I read it that day when I got it. I was glad I wasn't busy because I got kind of tied up in it. Like, wait a minute. You know, cool. It's a really good. No, it's a good read, man. It's a really good read.
This thing is well done. I mean, who published it for? Man, this thing's really sharp.
I did that
thick,
in conjunction with just a publishing company.
I mean, it really looks good. You know.
Well, the picture on the front, the cover of the book, Walter King Hoover was the preeminent historian of Smyrna, all things Smyrna.
Yeah. Troy, I just seen Troy Ross, his grandson, a little while ago at Doug's funeral. Yeah, Troy's a great guy. You know, Jim Ross, they own the farm across from Nissan. That's sharp, though. And what year is that again?
I think the picture was taken probably July of 1873, and the background of the picture behind the old guys, that was the original Smyrna Methodist Church that was completed in 1873. That location is still occupied by the Smyrna United Methodist Church.
So is that
that's the church?
But is that brick? Is that still part of the building, or is that torn down?
No, they tore that church down in 1925, and the current structure will be hitting their 100th anniversary this year. They rebuilt it.
Now, Sam Davis, his family attended there, correct?
I believe that's correct. Thinking back to the history.
That I'm not positive on.
I believe that is correct.
Aren't you a tour guide at Sam Davis' home?
At Sam Davis' home, not at Smyrna Methodist Church, Mike. Yeah.
Anyways,
there, the home.
I'm teasing you.
But anyway, I think the Masons actually met in that church, or built part of that church, or did something. Is that how they did it?
They went into an agreement with the Methodists in 1872 to build a church. They had built kind of a rickety structure after the Civil War, and they completed the church in 1873, and the Freemasons were occupying the upstairs portion of the church, covering 1/3 of the cost, but they didn't have the money to even do that. They had financial problems from the get-go on that, from the onset.
Yeah. And then Smyrna at one time lost its it wasn't a city area. Lost its charter for a while. I was reading that. So that's stuff I just didn't know till I got in this book. That's really cool.
In 1881, the town of Smyrna, the charter was revoked under the, I guess the official story is the temperance movement and to be able to rid the town of alcohol, and that's all part of the story. There were a couple of saloons in Smyrna.
Was old Snake Pit still there back then?
Snake Pit.
A little before the Snake Pit, you had the Yellowhammer Saloon and you had Johnson Saloon.
Okay.
Where were those at?
Johnson Saloon was located almost exactly where the Smyrna Cleaners is today, where Tank Street comes out to Lowry.
Okay. Oh yeah, where the later on was Woodshed Restaurant and all that.
That was Johnson Saloon. That's where the famous Christmas Eve gunfight occurred in 1870 out in front of that saloon. The other saloon, the Yellowhammer Saloon, was owned by a man by the name of James Britt, who was not a Mason, but he was an alderman.
Okay.
And you know where the red bicycle was? I think it's called Subculture now.
Yep.
He had a location there, and he had a location down where Sam Davis Road comes out to Lowry. So we're not real sure where his saloon may have been. But the last mayor of Smyrna wanted the two saloons out of Smyrna, and he figured out a way to do it.
Yeah, you shared that at the history discussion, I guess.
I did.
Who was the mayor at the time? I mean, do you?
The mayor of the time was Albert Page. He was also a member of the lodge, and records indicate that he didn't get along very well with Joseph Ingalls, who was the founding mayor of Smyrna, and he was also a member of the lodge. They were lodge brothers in Smyrna 221.
Wasn't he later on mayor of Davidson County or Nashville? Was it Ingalls? Was it later on the Nashville?
That was Dudley. Richard Dudley went on to be. He may have been Smyrna's first merchant in the 1850s. Not long after the railroad went through. He established a hardware business there in Smyrna, and he served as master of the lodge, and then later he moved to Nashville and became mayor of Nashville from 1897 to 1900.
Okay. Because the lodge would predate, you're saying, the railroad itself.
No, the railroad went through in 1851, and the gavel came down for the first time in January of 1852 in the Smyrna Masonic Lodge.
Wow. Because it's hard, I mean, for me to fathom that there was just no Smyrna. It would have been Old Jefferson. Is that right, Roger?
Yeah, well, I know Sam Davis home was considered part of Old Jefferson back in the day, but as far as Smyrna, I don't know if it would have been called Old Jefferson or not.
You would have had the Smyrna Church, right, that it's named after.
Well, yeah, it was named after Smyrna Presbyterian. That was actually where the old air base is right now, where it is.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
I think it was 1810 they built that. They got burned down. 1863 during the war. Rebuilt it in 1867. Now, when they rebuilt that, they tore it down when the base came in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those bricks that came off that church is actually on the creek house there. That's where those bricks came from.
That's right.
And the 3 pews on the back of the Sam Davis home, that's where those pews came from that church. So I need something.
You need something. So you're saying in the little creek house, there's the pews. There's pews there.
No, they're on the back of the porch at Sam Davis' home. The big house up there, on the back porch. We've got 3 of them. Wow. And the bricks. You remember I showed you that picture? I had that picture out when we had the Men of Hope breakfast there.
Yeah.
And it said in the paper clipping. Okay, I was reading it. Y'all like this, but. That was the first place in Smyrna back then you could actually rent, like a little place you could get. It used to be called the Tea Room, I believe, back then. But it said it would hold 150 people.
Well, I thought it was more than that.
No.
150?
Yeah. If you stood side by side, it didn't move. Everybody crammed in, just stood up. You might could get 100, maybe 100 in there, but that was definitely a misprint.
They were very optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had at the Men of Hope prayer breaks, we probably had 35, 40?
Oh, no. That we had about 50. We had Coach Rakes was there.
Yeah, Mr. Rakes was there.
We had, let's see, what's the guy's name? The judge, Coach Rakes' son-in-law. He was there.
Oh, Judge Fan?
Yeah, and Mary Esther. We had they judged the chili, actually.
Yeah, we had a good crowd there.
On that contest. My cousin won it, and they thought I rigged it. I thought I was going to get rocked coming out of there.
Well, everybody tried to say.
And he won 2 door prizes.
Well, my friends say it's already predetermined who's going to win the chili contest. They're saying it's rigged. It's not rigged, but what was funny is his cousin kept winning all the awards and first place, and I thought, I looked at him, maybe it is rigged, you know what I mean? But I don't have nothing to do with it. But it was funny. He kept winning
door prizes.
Is Jeff Gill?
Yeah, it's actually his wife is my cousin. Okay?
Angie.
Yeah. But anyway, I was. He was there, never entered before, and had all these people, been doing it. The guy been in it 25 times, never won all these, and I never done that before. He got it and he won.
y'all cook? Y'all cook? Well, I know y'all cook for the breakfast. I mean, y'all cook chili?
Yeah, we had a chili cook-off a couple of months ago. Yeah.
And so you cook, both y'all?
I cooked, yeah. I won it for the 3rd time.
Did you really?
And it's not rigged.
Well, you don't want in it, Paul.
Well, actually, no. They caught me. I had the smallest bowl, the smallest pan, and it was gone. So the judge whose bowl was empty.
That sounds like Danny Brewer. But you know what's interesting? I told his cousin, I said, man, you need to enter. And he goes, oh, man, I don't know how to cook. I said, what's funny about this, and it's kind of ironic, the people that win aren't the best cooks. It's the people that think they're good cooks normally don't even place. I mean, I'm not going to call out any names or anything, because people get their feelings hurt. Do y'all people get mad if they don't win?
No,
seriously.
Chili and stuff.
I don't think there was a big deal there. The prize was actually nothing.
Funny. Yeah, I'm pulling up that Smyrna First Presbyterian Church. It was established in 1810 and recognized by the Presbyterian in 1820. So where did y'all originally meet? When y'all met, I mean, not you, but I mean, when they
the very first
created
time
The original lodge in 1852. We don't get a real good picture from the records. It could have been a room in somebody's house. It could have been a business. After the Civil War, they met in the house in Henry Gregory's house. Henry Gregory was he was a man of means. He
Gregory
owned
Mill over there.
That's right. Gregory Mill is named for his family.
Yeah.
His home was also the former White's Inn and Tavern, which was a favorite lodging post of Andrew Jackson in his travels years earlier.
Wow.
That home did not go away. That home burned down in 1965.
Really?
And it was at that's it right there.
Right.
That's a picture.
Called White's Tavern near
That's right.
Stewartsboro on Nashville Highway.
It was in the intersection of today's Hazelwood and Old Nashville Highway.
Okay.
Wow,
Okay.
that's cool.
All right.
That
Yeah.
is cool.
But Henry Gregory probably influenced the Smyrna landscape as much or more than any of those early pioneers. That Enon Springs Park over there, the Gregory Mill Park that was named for his family. They weren't the longtime owners. That goes back to the early 1800s.
That is really interesting.
He was also, Henry Gregory also became the owner of the Smyrna Methodist Church after the Freemasons could no longer afford the church and they had to sell to their creditors.
Okay.
And a lot of there were no banks around at that time. The first Smyrna Bank didn't come into play until 1904. So the local citizens became creditors to build that church.
All right. Was it 1,500 or something like that for the Hokadoodle back then? I was reading some kind of price. Is that what was that right? Or am I reading? That's something else I saw.
When Henry Gregory sold that church to the Methodist congregation, I think it was 1902, and he sold it for an extremely cheap price. It was valued in the several thousand, but I think he sold it for like $300 or something like that.
Oh, really? Oh, man, why can't I get a deal like that?
I may be a little off on those numbers, but
But that's pretty cool. Andrew Jackson stayed there.
There's a lot of history in Jefferson and around in Smyrna. It really is.
And then it mentions Evelina was the granddaughter of Robert Weekly Lane. I guess didn't he fought, I believe, in the Revolutionary War and was awarded land grant, if I'm not mistaken. And it says founding father of Jefferson in Rutherford County and notable pioneer, for which Weekly Lane still carries the name today. We drive down these roads, and like today, my wife and I were out of town. We went out to Henry Horton Park, and we were going down 41, and I was telling my wife, I said, I think this road Al Capone used to ride on. You just take, and if I'm not mistaken, Paul, 41 will take you straight to Chicago, right?
That's what I understand.
It'll take you straight to what part of Florida? Y'all know? But to think that people traveled that little highway that far is just amazing.
Yeah.
I can remember before I-24 was built. Y'all remember when it stopped up there?
Yep, I came in 66 is when I got here, and it interstate was, I think, it stopped right about there. That's before Sam Ridley was built.
My dad had a little print shop back then in the garage. Me and my brother would do, and there was a little burger place that opened up on. It's called Minute Burger. It was one of those little places like a burger place, and he would do the guest checks. And he'd have it set up. He'd be at work. And me and my brother, he was 13, I was 15. We'd be running the heck out of it in the garage. That's what I ended up doing. And, until I was in business for that up till around 1988. Then I had to get a real job. I got on at Bridgestone. Yeah. No, divorce kind of knocks that.
But this is this really is. I know Roger Gary's probably one of your biggest fans. I'm telling you, because he talks about this all the time. He'd make a great speaker. But, I got to tell you something with one of your Masons. Remember old Doyle Short?
Oh, yeah.
I think Paul knows this story. You remember when I told you what happened with him? He'd always call me, because I talk about weird coincidences. And even Einstein said coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. And he would call me and invite me to every one of y'all's breakfasts. He'd call me a week before. Mike, come on out. And he loved talking about politics. And he literally was the second door I ever knocked on when I first ran for office of Rutherford County Commission. And we become friends, and he was always great at like an ambassador for y'all. And I knew his daughter in high school. In fact, his wife, Bobby Short, was in my Sunday school for many years. She's now sadly in the nursing home. But I went to the funeral. I'm sure y'all were probably there at Doyle's funeral. And I promise you, I know y'all ain't gonna believe this, because he would also text me and remind me. I got a text from that guy a week later after he died. I know y'all think, y'all looking at me like you're crazy. I know. I promise you, because I told his wife, I said, "Does your husband maybe preset this invitation on a text?" And she goes, "He could barely use his phone." I wish. I know people don't believe me when I tell that story, but it was like, Mike, remember the lodge breakfast this Saturday? I was like, this is crazy. Is that not weird?
That is strange. Yep. That is strange.
Gary's
either that or your phone's as good as
I
mine.
know, man. It's so wild. But he was just such a great guy. How many lodge members have y'all had since inception?
Oh, geez, I don't. Currently we've got about 170. Now we were up to like 250 at one time.
I think we were about 270 when I came into the lodge in 2004.
Now, who are you allowed to say like who brought you in the lodge? I mean, is that?
Well, nobody really brings you in. You can talk about people that you may have discussed getting in with, but
well, I know a lot of guys that's come through. Clyde Jones, I mean, he's passed. Gerald Lee. Gerald's such a great guy, man.
He's a character.
Wayne Bain. I mean, Wayne and I are friends.
Gerald Lee's son had Jerry, who is the GIS manager for Murfreesboro.
That's right.
He had a little to do with putting this book together as well, because we put a map in there of the current golf course and airport, and Jerry had done an overlay of a 1938 aerial so we could get the positions right of where the old plantation home was and where old Jefferson Pike went through the golf course.
Mm.
Wow.
That really is cool. Yeah, Gerald's just such a great guy. Yeah.
But you talk about that, man. If you've never been in one of those like pancake or breakfasts or flapjack, whatever you want to call it, it's it's really good fellowship. There's a lot of good people in there, man. I really enjoy it. It's just
y'all have any jerks in there?
Say again.
You got any jerks in there, like jerks? You always got one in every club.
Not that we'd mention,
there's always somebody who's difficult, man. We got Roger and I's got a nickname. Don't say it, Roger.
Oh.
It's a nickname of people that's just, this one guy is just trouble all the time on Facebook, putting people down. He's got an answer to every problem.
But then when you go to him face to face, he don't.
Nice.
Just nice
Talk
guy
about
in the world.
people all the
Wait a minute,
time.
man. You just dogged the heck out of him on Facebook.
But anyways, y'all ever have to reprimand members or anything?
Actually, no. We really, the folks that come in, we hopefully we are screened pretty well about whether we'd want to be brothers with them and
or blackballed, right?
Or blackballed and so it's generally we don't have any problems in Smyrna. It's anywhere you go, you're going to have some issues. We're all human.
Yeah.
And but anyway, the pancake breakfast is a great event, and we got a lot of the cross section of the community comes in. Politicians, preachers, people come in from Nashville. Some of my pilot buddies come in, and
well, you'll get people that'll visit. I was talking to one guy, and he was from like out of state or something. I don't know if he was passing.
I don't
through
know
or
that
what.
they necessarily come out of state.
Seriously,
for the
a guy
breakfast.
that was like out of state, and I don't know if he just popped in and knew about it or something. I thought it was really interesting.
This one guy that I'm not sure if he's a Mason. The guy that I was telling about, that older guy came to the chili cook-off. He came to the listen to the speakers, and you might have seen him at New Year. He said, "Oh yeah, I flew with Paul when he flew." He was telling me the story. Older guy, and I'm not sure if he's a Mason. I'm thinking he was.
Talking about Gene Hardiman.
No, he came by the other day. Sam Davis home, drove by, and we chewed some gum talking, Hand me some gum. We did a little chewing. And anyway, but I knew Jean's daughter, Jackie, her.
Yeah.
But anyway, but he did come to Chili Cook-Off because I told him about you, and he came. Him and his wife was there.
Yeah.
Older guy. McMinnville or somewhere maybe where he's from. I can't. I'm not good on some things. I remember some stuff. It don't stay long.
Well, I appreciate you really advertising our pancake breakfast.
Awesome.
In fact, my great-granddaughter, Mariah,
yeah,
came and helped me go
You got a great granddaughter?
I got 10 of them.
No, you serious?
great
Oh, yeah, the
grandkids.
one he's talking about, Mariah, though, that's the one. Will she be there? Is she coming?
Planning on her being there.
Yeah.
She helped me. Gary, she took Gary's place, so we went and
did a better job.
Really?
Yeah.
How old a fella are you?
I'm 77.
Really? You got how many great grandkids?
Got 10.
Really?
How old's your oldest one, Paul?
The oldest great is 18.
Yeah,
Wow, wouldn't that be neat?
My
if
oldest grade
she had
is
a child?
6.
I had one that started early and often.
Yeah.
Grandson.
sounds like mine. Hey.
Early and often.
But yeah, actually, I see her in your plane sometime. You're flying around.
Yeah.
She's up there, sitting at the controls, and it's kind of cool.
We know who's in charge when she spends the night with us.
Yeah, and when Kathy comes over, y'all over rehearsing, practicing, Kathy will walk out with a armful of pear stuffed animals and stuff. I go, I know who's
Talk
with
about
you.
Talk about the music they play over there.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't want to stray off too much, cause but what I was going to tell you, when we do come, me and Mike's going to be a little bit late. We have a prayer breakfast that morning, and we're going to try to get out of there about 8:45, so we will be there for the, for the book and all, all that.
I'd like to mention something else it's going on that day too, and it's going on now, and the city's doing some of this too. It's a project. A guy named Preston is a Eagle Scout, has a project going on, and they have vending machines in some of the schools at Rutherford County for homeless, for people who can't afford, and we're collecting toiletries, so they can put those in the vending machines, and it's free, and I think it's anonymous. They have machines are not where everybody can see them getting them, but they need things like shampoo, soap. They don't need toothpaste anymore and toothbrushes. They said they got enough to give to an army. But deodorant, Kleenex, just things that you think about that you need to get ready to go to school if you don't have anything.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good cause, man. And I noticed you, and Gary, I know he lives at the golf course. A lot of times I call him, I can hear the wind. I go, "You're on the golf course, aren't you?" No.
I spend a little time out there.
No. But yeah, man. Now, are you a member of the Rotary? Are you?
I'm not. No.
Okay, because that's that Wings of Freedom. That's a good one. I think y'all going to have to.
Well, the founder's right there, bad boy right there, Paul Lamb.
I think you're going to have the Kostitsky, not the airman, but the plane there this time. A plane from that. I think it's Carolyn Peoples was wanting, because I was actually on the board with her, and that was one of her things to do.
P-51, it's a Tuskegee Airman airplane.
Yeah. And
they have a traveling museum that's going to be here too. So we're working on the details to where to set it up and how we're going to, we get school kids to come through it and have it for our event too. So that's going to be a big deal.
I heard you could pay for a flight on that airplane. I'd heard that.
If you get, if you got $2,000 or $3,000, I mean, it's.
Hey, Mike,
we're going to have an auction.
Oh, a raffle for a ride.
An auction for it. So if whoever wins.
Now, I know I cheated for my cousin to win the chili cook-off. Any way you can maybe
hook us up, hook a brother up. When the B-17 was out there, Liberty Bell, remember Liberty Bell? We flew out there with WGNS. We were doing, I think we're doing a show outside, Brian Barrett and I, but we flew up, and my youngest son videoed it. I don't know if you remember that. He videoed it. He's in the tail gun position because my dad flew 24 bomber raids over during the B-17, and he was a waist gunner. My son got back here in the back, and that's a tight spot in that little tail gunner position. He made a little video, and what was sad is that, if you remember that plane, it crash landed and burned. You remember that?
Yep.
Right shortly after being at Smyrna. My understanding, they've rebuilt it back. Do you know if they've built it back?
I don't know about that. It looked pretty destroyed from the pictures I saw.
Yeah, it's sad
one
to
in
watch
parts
it.
plane, maybe a part here, a part there.
They couldn't get a fire truck back there. It was out in an open field. But if I'm not mistaken, the Memphis Belle, we passed that a few years ago, making it the official aircraft of Tennessee. And I don't know if is it in Memphis now?
Nope. It's in the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio.
Or
they completely restored it.
I was thinking they were going to move it to Memphis.
No,
they're not.
No. Memphis couldn't afford it.
Really?
I mean, it's to take care of an airplane like that is big bucks.
But these guys right here, man, like I said, both of them have volunteer out here. I mean, Gary has spoken about that. We have those speakers, chili cook-off, and we had this. If you count all day long, we had 180 this year, and I think last year we had around 160. And then Paul has always provided music, any kind of thing.
Paul is involved in everything. It amazes me.
But he always comes through on music when it's for the kids, school kids and that. And but they don't have a dadgum kazoo. That's the only thing that they don't have. If it wasn't, they'd have the complete band. I mean, it'd be on television.
Paul drives the fundraising at our lodge, and he's done a great job over the years doing that, and raised a lot of money.
Yeah, but yeah, man, appreciate everything y'all did in this book. I can't wait to, like I said, go over there and I'm going to actually make a picture if I can, of that little the display back there.
Oh, absolutely.
And like I said, I always try to, in fact, when his car shows hit, we try to send them over there. Hey, get your heart breakfast if it hits the same time. Now this one they're having this year over at Sam Davis home is the same day as the fish fry, but it's over at 4, and they'll be heading over. A lot of these guys with the cars heading over to the fish fries.
That turns into a big event there with the cars coming over to the airport.
Oh yeah, and but yeah, man, and of course, the Blue Angels are coming this year. I believe what's the 5th and the 6th,
7th and 8th,
okay.
7th and 8th of June.
Yeah, that's going on this year, so it's going to be a big year for Smyrna. So. Anyway, what I'm gonna do, Mike, is I'm gonna step out here and give Jeremy a little bit of
let Jeremy pop in.
little time, and
Jeremy,
I'm gonna take me a little break.
Trusted intern, Paul. When we were fixing to go on the air, you brought up that time that because you asked me to head up sponsorship.
Yep.
20-something years ago at the Rotary, and I wasn't even elected then. But I appreciate you asking me to do that. We've raised how much money now?
Over $2 million now.
Over $2 million.
In 22 years. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. How much money you get from the government on that?
From the government?
Look at Paul's look on his face.
Let's see. Let me count that up. That would be 0.
I know. I love asking a question. It throws something. Their facial expression gets me so tickled. But I always appreciate you doing that. But at Rotary, I've seen a lot of folks come and go. Bob Spivey is gone, and. Who was some of the original guys? Dick Johnson passed last year.
Alan Trumbo.
Yep, Alan was a great guy.
He was a good guy.
Man, and who was the contractor, the builder that lived in Murfreesboro? I thought he lived in Murfreesboro. He passed, 2 years ago. Just seen a lot of great guys come through there. But I had this bright idea to promote the fish fry with an airplane. We're going to fly over Rutherford County with an aircraft, and we're going to talk about the fish fry. And we just left Rotary, and a little girl was working for me. My son's ex-girlfriend, Archie, was with us, and we probably had about 8. Who was it? Corporate Flight?
Flight Management at that time.
They loaned us the aircraft, and we flew around, and we had all 8 at Rotary, and the guy was trying to fly in and get a signal, cell signal. And it was like turbulent. If you're used to all that, we're not. And, man, I was looking at everybody, and everybody's kind of starting to get this green look on their face. And I thought, man, people are going to start throwing up. And it was coming in and out. People were telling me the signal was coming in and out on the plane. But I know Brian Barrett we always laugh about it. But it was when we landed over there, I don't even think people said bye. They went straight to the restroom, But we tried to do the show. But anyways, it's always a lot of fun bringing people together.
Yep.
And
it's turned into a big signature event for Smyrna.
Yes. Well, I always like the quote in Proverbs where it says, "Without vision, the people perish." And many thanks to you and so many others that had a vision to kind of pick up where Lee Victory stopped, with his fish fry. So it was the next year after Lee Victory stopped, wasn't it?
Yeah, we I guess Valley Reed and Robert Mullins and I kind of got the idea, and then Wayne Blair came up with the making it a fish fry because Lee wasn't having it anymore.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine, Doug Dawson, came up with the name, so it just kind of all fit together. And
well, did you go to Lee Victor's Fish Fries much?
Well, I went to him several times.
Did you go, Gary?
I did not. I don't think I was here at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about some of the stuff on the air, or do you want to not talk about it?
You're talking about the
The
crap games?
The crap games. Did y'all really do that stuff?
No, I didn't.
You did? Okay. I'd heard that. I mean, it seems so hard for me to fathom that now, looking back. But I remember being there, and I felt out of place, and I was not elected position. I was sitting there with Dan Whittle, and Dan was another great one that's come through Rotary. And I knew Ned Ray McCorder was coming, the governor. And he got out of that SUV and walked straight over. It seemed like he walked straight over to me, and I knew nothing about politics, and all I knew to say was to Ned Ray McCorder is, "Sir, you still eating them vanilla wafers?" That's all I knew to say. He said, "Son, you get me some coffee and some vanilla wafers. I'll work for you all day long." That was his. And so Dad put me in the paper, and that's when Bob Spivey decided to run for mayor. I found the paper, by the way, the day of the fish fry 2 years ago. It was, talk about weird coincidence. I brought it in and showed it to Robert. I think we got a call. Caller, go ahead.
Hey, this is Marty.
Hey, man, what's going on?
It's one of the best shows I've heard in a long time.
Was that mean the other shows are bad? Huh?
Oh, yeah, they're pretty bad.
Well,
This one is really
you knew
good.
the history of Weekly, Robert Weekly.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he came from Hillsborough, North Carolina, along with about 4 or 5 other people. And from what I understand, I read a little bit of research on him. He was a Mason. And the judge that came with him was a Mason. All from Hillsborough, North Carolina.
Really? So it's Revolutionary War grant. Do you remember how many acres that would have been?
Oh, Mike, it was several thousand.
Well, so it would have been where Smyrna is now, the original town then.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And probably encompassing.
Well, it went all the way to Murfreesboro, and then it went. I guess it went all the way to Walter Hill and past Walter Hill to Lascassas. It was huge.
Yeah, well, that's where Weekly County is named after. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes, I think, was he the first Senate Majority Leader or Lieutenant Governor of the state of Tennessee? Robert
That
Weekly?
I don't know. I really don't know that, Mike.
I believe he was. Yeah, because I guess he would have been helping form state government back then.
Well, he moved to Nashville to get into, after building the house on Jefferson Pike. He never lived in it. He moved to Nashville to get into national politics.
Yeah.
And he built a subdivision there in Nashville.
Well, speaking of that old home, we were trying to save it a few years ago. You were out there with me. We shot a couple of little videos and stuff. Why real quick, why would you tell us that house is important in saving the King's John's home? Why would that be important?
One of the things that I like the best about it, I mean, there's a lot of things to love about it, but the family that lived there at the time, they sat on the front porch and watched the Indians come by on the Trail of Tears.
Wow. Yes. Well, where would you ever find that kind of history? And then Samson Keeble, the first African-American lawmaker, would have passed by there as well.
Yeah.
And what is it? Is it Wheeler's raid around Rosecrans would have happened out in that area too?
It did. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, I used to talk to Walter Hoover a whole lot. I'm one of the greatest historians I've ever met in my life.
Yes.
But he told me that they came in up there where Hobson Pike and Murfreesboro Road is today. There were caves that would lead all the way to Walter Hill, to where the river is. And they would come through the caves, sneaking in that way to surround Murfreesboro.
I mean, it does sound kind of crazy, just to be straight up. But what I'd read here recently was Rutherford County had one of the most cavernous areas in the country, And I guess that's what led to the mishap of the Corps of Engineers miscalculating the water levels when they were trying to take out Old Jefferson community.
Right. Hey, can I tell you something about the Blue Angels, a little trivia?
Go ahead.
Okay, back when I first joined the rescue squad in 1973,
Yep.
that Blue Angels were starting to come. I don't know if it was their first show but anyhow, they asked the rescue squad to do guard duty on the Blue Angels airplanes. And that was like really not good because we were out there messing with the planes. We didn't get in them or anything, but we were really close and taking pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard some crazy stories. No telling what y'all did back then. You know.
Well, yeah, we're not going to go there either.
No.
But the Blue Angels have an interesting history too. Not me. Most people look at them and think it's they're Blue Angels because of their planes, but that's not where the name came from. There was a bunch of pilots that left over from the war, and they bought airplanes. An airplane was selling pretty cheap back in the day, and they would go to this little bar or restaurant and sit and talk. And they wanted to do something, so they started doing. Crop dusters were real famous at fairs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, one of the guys said, "You know, we ought to do some stunt driving or whatever." And they had to have a name because the people who were going to organize the show said, "Well, what do y'all call yourselves?" And the restaurant that they were sitting in, the bar restaurant, it was called the Blue Angel.
Mm.
That's where they grabbed that name.
That is pretty cool. Well, Marty, we're gonna wrap up here. Thanks for that. I'm gonna let Paul share a story about. I'm putting him on the spot. Someone that we all loved was Admiral Jimmy Taylor.
Oh, Admiral Taylor's a good guy. I went and we flew some together in my airplane, and he's still a great pilot at that time. Just kept on going. We played a little racquetball with him too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, till he got to where he couldn't get out.
Did you ever get to play with AC Puckett?
Oh my, yeah.
Dude, what an athlete!
Beat me like a drum.
Man, me too. God, that guy. I think he was 65 or 70, and I was probably like 20 playing racquetball, and he was tearing me up.
He played up into his 80s.
Yeah, I named that bridge after him in Laverne, and we surprised him at Rotary. And he was in like 92, 93 when we
I don't remember.
We did it. And he was still driving. We drove over to the bridge. Speaking of the rescue squad, Marty, the rescue squad, Laverne, they were there at Laverne going to pull the sign off to surprise him. And we surprised him at Rotary, and we drove over, and he's all over the road. And but he was like tripping out when we unveiled the sign at Rotary, because he would get up and give little history tidbits of stuff. But you see people come and go, and you think like Doug Atkins, passing away, and Admiral Taylor was so cool. You remember his funeral?
Yeah.
What was the aircraft that flew over?
Like a T-28, the trainers. Yeah, the trainers.
Did you
I
spot
think they were
them?
out of Columbus, Mississippi, I believe.
Were you able to spot them when they were over like Murfreesboro coming in?
Yeah.
Because we knew they were coming. I had it on video, and they were so fast. I hardly
did the
caught
missing
it.
man formation. That was really good, and it was a hot day. Oh
Yes,
my
it was.
goodness,
Yeah,
it was miserably hot.
I got a picture. My little brother flies for DEA, and I got a picture of him and Admiral Taylor while his wife was at a nursing home, and my mother was at Traditions up there. But just such a great guy.
Real gentleman.
He really was, and we've had some good people come through there. Jeremy, what do you think about these old cats talking about history? And
oh man, me being a historian as well, or semi
well, you got a degree in history.
I did. I mean, like
you do.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
But it's always nice to pick brains of people, fellow historians, and especially historians who live in the same town that you grew up in. And so knowing what you guys know about the town of Smyrna, it's a wellspring of knowledge to hear and listen to what y'all have to say.
Well, to think that golf course that you've worked at for years, by the way, he's one that spotted the ghost back behind Sam Davis' home. Tell that story real quick.
Oh.
He swears by it. Tell that story.
Well, I think this was around my first or second summer at the golf course. It was like an unusually foggy summer day, but we were the first ones out. As you probably know, our like clock-in time was like 5:30, so not too many people out there. Nobody should be out there around that time. And so I'm mowing fairways. My supervisor told me to go over to 11. My partner would hit number 10. And you've played there. You know how 11, dog legs to the left.
Yep.
And you know how Mr. I think his name is Wiley Sanders or something.
That's
Wiley
right.
or yeah.
That's right. The cemetery side out there.
Yep. Well, I saw something. I don't know if it was a fully corporeal ghost or something, but something was there looking into that gravesite. They were standing like right outside the wrought iron fence. So I was like, "There's not supposed to be anybody back here. I'm gonna go."
That's why I don't play that hole very well.
Yeah. But I was like, "There's not supposed to be anybody back here this time of day. I'm gonna just hop off my mower and go tell them, hey, go. I'm gonna have to call the cops." And right as soon I making sure that they were still on over there. All right, pull up my reel unit, lowered my throttle down my mower, and right as soon as I climbed off to go see if they were still over there, gone. No footprints in the dew or anything. So I was like, all right, just got right back on my mower. I'm not gonna say anything about this to anybody, but
that little cemetery site on the 11th fairway out on the Smyrna Golf Course has been there since the 1840s.
Oh yeah,
Wiley Sanders and his first and second wife are buried there.
Yep.
So did that road used to come out to be Old Jefferson, which is now Sam Ridley. That would have came out at that location at the old golf course, right?
Actually, the part of Old Jefferson that went away when they built the base, it was probably a quarter mile or so north of Sam Ridley.
Yep.
Okay.
And it connected. You still have East Jefferson over in the Laverne area.
Yep.
That connects with the
okay,
National
because it
Highway.
would have lined up with the Laverne Jefferson Pike.
That's right.
Yep.
It went right across the golf course, right across the fourth tee box, the third green.
Behind Goochland, Goochland would be where the golf course clubhouse is today, right?
It would be about where runway 32, just south of runway 32.
Because at the event, Paul, I don't know if you got to meet. Did you get to meet Charles Jones? He owns the Milky Way Farm in Giles County. He owned part of Hickory Hollow Mall, but anyways, he's 94. He remembers going down Jefferson Pike before Seward Air Force Base was built. That just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, and the railroad on 11, the railroad track used to come in there and go across what Sam Ridley now into the base.
Yes.
Yep.
Remember they had the passenger cars over there, back behind Boss Spivey's Imperial Meats. Remember that bridge was out for years? Remember Sam Ridley Park, you couldn't go that way. The bridge was out.
I don't remember
Back in I was dating my wife. We'd drive out Week Lane, and you had to cut through the base because that road, seriously, it's hard to believe the bridge was out right there. Captain Jeff Coos Bridge.
Yeah.
It was out Stewart's Creek.
I remember that.
Yeah.
With the time we have left, do you know how there's like those cement foundations like right behind 17 hole?
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Apparently that used to be some either one of the major systems or it was a maintenance for the railway or a maintenance railway thing. But I didn't know that. But as I looked into it, I looked more. I was like, yeah, I can definitely see a rail line going through there.
That bridge crossed Stewart Creek right there behind the 17th green.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Paul Lamb, Gary LeFew, the book Freemasons, the town that built the town of Smyrna, and y'all have got your big breakfast this coming Saturday.
7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Did y'all say where people can find Gary's book?
That'll be available at the lodge. Sam Davis Home also has copies.
Okay.
At the breakfast.
All right.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Roger. And thank you, Connor. We'll see y'all next week.
Yep.